Hello, I'm Natalie Tucker, and on behalf of AARP, I want to welcome you to our discussion on Social Security decisions that can be costly. Before we begin, if you would like to listen to this town hall in Spanish, press *0 on your telephone keypad now.
Si usted desea escuchar en español, presione *0 en su teléfono ahora.
Thank you for joining us today and participating in this nationwide tele-town hall to discuss Social Security decisions that can be costly. This is your opportunity to learn and ask questions. We are connecting with thousands of AARP members from across the nation, and we'll be joined shortly by a Social Security expert from AARP and a retired Social Security Administration Regional Communications Director. AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan member organization, and AARP is in your corner, fighting on issues that matter to you and to your family. If you participated in one of our teletown halls before, you know this is similar to a radio talk show, where you have the opportunity to ask questions and get answers from our guests. For those of you joining us on the phone, if you would like to ask a Social Security related question, press *3 on your telephone to connect with an AARP staff member who will note your name and question and place you in a queue to ask that question live. If you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, you can post your question in the comments. Hello. If you're just joining, I'm Natalie Graves Tucker, and on behalf of AARP, I want to welcome you to this important Social Security discussion, Social Security decisions that can be costly. Thank you for joining us today and participating in this teletown hall about Social Security. I would like to remind you that we will be taking your questions live, so to ask a question at any time, just press *3. And if you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, you can post your question in the comments. This session is intended to be informational and educational. Please consult your financial advisor for any specific guidance according to your individual situation. We'll be sharing resources and phone numbers with you today, so you may want to grab a pen and paper to have handy. Now, if you're like most people, you don't like leaving money on the table. When it comes to Social Security, many of us aren't even aware we are leaving money on the table. The system can be complex, and it's important to understand how your decisions can increase or decrease your Social Security payments. Decisions you make now can affect your income forever. We're going to explore how claiming Social Security too early could cost you a lot of money in the long run. Then we'll talk about how continuing to work while collecting Social Security could reduce your Social Security because of a rule known as the earnings limit. We'll also cover how the length of your marriage can impact your spousal payments and how claiming Social Security early can affect your spouse's survivor payments. We will conclude with discussing Social Security imposter scams. These scams are incredibly common, and they can happen to anyone. AARP is here to help you understand and potentially avoid these costly Social Security decisions. So with us today is Stephen Richardson, a retired Regional Communications Director for the Social Security Administration. For more than 38 years, he enjoyed helping people maximize their earned payments. He continues to break down the many rules of Social Security with an honest, straightforward approach. Thank you for being here, Stephen.
Thank you for having me.
I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to Jammie Lyell, who is the Social Security Program Manager for AARP. His dedication to this issue is deeply personal and community-focused. Witnessing his mother navigate the complexities of Social Security fueled his commitment to this work. His role at AARP is not just a job, it's a passion. We're glad to have you, Jammie.
Glad to be here.
We will also be joined later in the program by Julio, Rios, Villena with AARP programs who will help facilitate your calls today. As a reminder, throughout today's teletown hall, we are going to share your live questions with Jammie and Stephen. So to ask your question, press *3. If you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, you can post your question in the comments. We have a lot to cover, so let's dive right in. Stephen, let's start with our first costly decision, which is claiming Social Security too early. How early is too early, and when is the best age to claim Social Security?
Well, I want to start off by emphasizing that there is no one best age for every person to start claiming their Social Security. When you decide to start collecting Social Security is a very personal decision and should be carefully considered. The when depends on a lot of factors such as your financial need, your health, your family's longevity, and your marital status. The age you start collecting affects the monthly payment amount you receive for the rest of your life. It will also possibly affect the amount your spouse could collect if they were to outlive you. Full retirement age is the age at which you get 100% of your full payment as calculated by the Social Security Administration. It is between age 66 and 67, depending on the year you were born. Full retirement age is 66 for people who were born between 1943 and 1954, and it gradually increases to age 67 for people who were born in 1960 or later. The earliest you can claim Social Security is generally age 62. However, if you claim at any age before your full retirement age of 66 or 67, your monthly payment is reduced permanently. That leaves money on the table every month for the rest of your life. You can even increase your monthly payment above what you would receive at full retirement age. If you wait to claim Social Security after your full retirement age, up to age 70, you earn what are called delayed retirement credits. That means your payment increases each month up to 8% for each of those years.
Thank you, Stephen, for that background. Jammie, given all of this, why would someone want to claim Social Security early?
Well, that's a good question. Well, you might really just need the income when you're younger and feel you have no other options. Or you might have a reason to believe you won't live a long life, either because you're in poor health or because your family doesn't have much longevity. And in those cases, you might want to claim early. But keep in mind, it's not all or nothing. Even if you can't wait until you're 70, every month you're able to delay claiming means more money in your pocket.
Good point. So delaying when you start collecting Social Security until you're older gets you a higher monthly payment. But then you wouldn't be collecting for as many years. So does it really pay to wait?
And you're right. It's important to look at the big picture, not just the amount of your monthly payment. If you claim when you're older, you'll have fewer years to collect Social Security. So it seems like you'd also collect less money overall. But you get larger payments by claiming when you're older. So if you live long enough, you get more money over time from Social Security. And it can be complicated to figure all of this out, but if you have a My Social Security account, you can find out how much you receive depending on the age you start collecting Social Security. So you can just go to ssa.gov/myaccount. Again, that's ssa.gov/myaccount. You can create an account there if you don't already have one. And if you do, I highly recommend that you review it. It is important to know how much money you'll get from Social Security because this is the key element of your retirement planning. With a My Social Security account, you can see how the future earnings and the alternative retirement dates will change your monthly and total payment.
Thanks, Jammie. All right, let's turn to Stephen to discuss the second costly Social Security decision, working after you've claimed Social Security. Stephen, how can that possibly be costly? If you work while also claiming Social Security, shouldn't you just get more money?
This is where the earnings limit comes into play. The earnings limit can reduce the amount of your Social Security payment. It affects anyone who collects Social Security before their full retirement age and continues to work. So it's best to be informed. If you are younger than your full retirement age and collecting Social Security while working, you might actually receive a smaller Social Security payment. You may eventually get that money back over time once you surpass your full retirement age. That is because those working years will be factored back into your Social Security payment. Now, A lot of people collect Social Security and work to earn additional income. If you aren't yet at your full retirement age, a portion of your Social Security is held back if you earn above a certain amount of money annually. That's because Social Security does not consider you fully retired if you're earning more than a certain amount. This is called the earnings limit, and it changes every year. There are two different limits and two different withholding amounts. One for the years you are under full retirement age, and one for the year you reach full retirement age.
Two different limits and withholding amounts. This sounds complicated. Jammie, would you please break it down for us? If you've claimed Social Security and keep working, how much money does Social Security withhold?
Yeah, sure. Well, it sounds complicated, but I think it will make a lot more sense once we look at some numbers. Let's start with the work income limit for the years you claim Social Security before your full retirement age. So for 2026, if you're under full retirement age, the earning limit is $24,480. This means that for every $2 you earn over this limit, Social Security withholds $1 in payments. And as Stephen mentioned, there is a different earnings limit and withholding amount for every year you reach full retirement age. So in this case, the earning limit is $65,160. So if you reach your full retirement age this year, then for every $3 you earn over this limit, Social Security withholds $1 in payments. So keep in mind that starting the month you hit your full retirement age, you can work and earn as much as you want. The earning limit no longer applies.
Now, just remember, listeners, you can ask your questions by pressing *3 to be placed in queue to ask your question live. And if you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, you can post your question in the comments. It's good to know that the earnings limit does not last forever, but it can be a costly surprise for those who claim Social Security ahead of full retirement age and continue working.
Yeah, so Natalie, you raise a good point. But remember, you could eventually get that money back over time. The year after you reach your full retirement age, Social Security will recalculate your payment. If those years you were collecting Social Security and working generated enough income to be one of your highest 35 years of income, then your monthly payment would increase. You are essentially getting credit for the months you lost some of your Social Security payments. So if this is the case, you will see your monthly payment increase starting in January of the year after you reach your full retirement age.
That's important for our audience to keep in mind. So thank you, Jammie. Before we continue, I want to remind our listeners again that in a few minutes, Stephen and Jammie will be answering your questions live. To ask your question, press *3, and if you're joining us on social media through Facebook or YouTube, you can post your question in the comments. Okay, we focused on income from work, but what about income from a 401k or other retirement plan? Does that count towards the earnings limit, Stephen?
Well, Social Security only considers earned income when it calculates how much, if any, to withhold from your payment, so earned income. And Social Security defines earned income as gross earnings from a job or net earnings from self-employment. So income from a 401k or any retirement plan does not count toward the earnings limit. Other taxable income such as interest, dividends, pensions, and rental income also do not count toward the Social Security earnings limit.
Thanks, Stephen. That is good information for our viewers to keep in mind. I'm sure this discussion has prompted questions, so let's get to our audience questions. Please press *3 on your telephone keypad to ask your question, and if you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, you can post your question in the comments. I'd like to now bring in Julio, Rios, Villena, to help facilitate your calls.
Hi,
Welcome,
Natalie.
Julio.
I was waiting for that. Thank you, Natalie.
Sorry.
I am very happy to be here. And
I'm happy for you to be here, too. Let's take our first question.
Absolutely. Our first question comes from Rafe on Facebook, and they ask, does it make a difference when you started working? I started working at 13. Does this give you a higher payment?
That's a great question out there on Facebook. Steve, do you have a question or answer for him?
Yeah, well, that's a heck of an earnings history. I think we can all agree on that. So let's start about what is it that Social Security looks at in terms of your work history when and how they calculate your payment. So the short answer to the question is it depends. What Social Security looks at is your highest 35 years of work when calculating your payment, right? So as you're aging into your 30s and 40s and 50s and into your 60s, all these years are accumulating. Social Security is calculating a payment based on all the past years that have been posted by the IRS. And once you reach the point where you have earned 35 of them, you're starting to see a more solid, accurate Social Security calculation. So the short answer to the question is it depends. If the earnings you made when you were very, very, very young are higher than earnings that you had made perhaps later in life, they could be used as one of your high 35 years. But, historically, traditionally, people that are working into 58, 59, 60, 61, their last 35 years or last 40 years of employment tend to be, historically tend to be the highest. Hope that helps.
Thank you very much. Julio, do we have another one?
Yes, another question we have here says, will my payment be reduced if I stop working but delay collecting my payment? If I stop working at 65 but wait until 67 to collect, will 2 years of no income reduce my payment?
That's an excellent question. Jammie?
Yeah, and it is a great question. And just to go into similar to what Steve was saying, it takes at your highest 35 working years. So if you stop working at 65 and then you let that time go by, each month you wait to claim your Social Security payments, your amount will increase. So not having those 2 years will just not be added into that 35. It'll be your highest 35 years over your working career. Great question, and I hope that answered it.
Thank you.
We have a caller on the line, Nicole from Maryland.
Hi, Nicole from Maryland. What is your question?
The question I had is in regards to how the payment is calculated. You mentioned the top 35 years, but how is that calculated, and is there a cap on the amount that you could be getting from Social Security?
Thank you for that question. Stephen, can you take a shot at that one?
Yeah, again, that's a great question. So there's a couple of things going on with Social Security and their calculations. It's your high 35. We've already established that. The second part of the calculation is that Social Security does what's called indexing of past wages. So every year when your benefit gets recalculated based on your previous year's earnings being added to your mix, right, from the IRS, the system is also, generally speaking, is also looking at past wages and indexing their value. So past years get indexed to a current day's value. That's the second part of the formula. The third part of the formula is exactly what you're asking, is about the cap. Every year there is a FICA tax max cap that's calculated based on average wage index figures. This year, 2026, it's once you hit $184,500 in wages, Social Security stops deducting FICA taxes from your pay. You've capped out. Last year, that amount was $176,100. So is there a cap? Yes, there's a cap. Now, you might say, this cap, how does it come into play with what a payment going forward might look like? Your next question would be, is there a maximum benefit payable? Well, generally speaking, if you have had 35 years on the books and they all represented FICA tax max amounts, I already illustrated the fact that last year's was less, so back 25 years ago it was much less, then you would receive a maximum Social Security mathematical payment. So there is an actual max. It's a good question.
Thank you for that. Do we have another one?
Yes, we do have a caller here. Francis calling from New Jersey.
Hi, Francis, out there from my state, New Jersey. What is your question?
In other words, does Social Security deduct anything from your retirement plan? It's an individual retirement plan.
Jammie.
And that's a great question. So Social Security will not withdraw from your retirement plan. Also, if you are maybe I'm thinking also about what's included in your income. Again, like Steve stated, is that it's your earned income from a job or self-employment, and it will not, and your retirement isn't included into that. And I hope that answers your question, that Social Security will not take from your retirement.
All right. Do we have another one?
Yes, we do. We have James from New Jersey.
Another New Jersey person. Hi, James. What is your question?
Yeah, I actually have 2 or 3 questions, but I'll ask the one that's on my mind. If my time permits, I'll ask another. My wife is working, and she's 66. Will turn 67 in December. I have retired as of last year. I am 65 into 66, so I'm going to 67 next year. When it comes to this gap, this wage you talked about, this earnings, and I'll hold back every dollar, when she reaches 67, whether she takes Social Security or not, that formula doesn't apply any longer. Correct?
Steve?
Yeah, I mean, you get back to the earnings test. When Jammie and I referenced the earnings test, and Jammie threw the numbers at you, and I gave you the general information about it, one part of it, which is really the third part of the annual earnings test. The first is if you're between age 62 through the first month of the year you turn your full retirement age. The second part is what happens in the year you turn your full retirement age. But the third part is once you reach your full retirement age, if you want to work and collect, there is no limit. Social Security will allow you to earn whatever you like once you reach your full retirement age, where you can earn whatever wages you prefer, and Social Security will pay you a check every single month.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Our next question is Anita from Facebook. Anita asks, I will collect Social Security at 62. I heard you said the earning limit for 2026 is $24,480. Does this amount generally go up or down? Does Social Security give an increase for inflation?
Thank you for that question, Anita, out there in Facebook land. Jammie?
Yeah, great question. So the answer, it generally goes up over time, generally. So Social Security doesn't just adjust the earnings limit almost every year. And that amount is tied to overall wage growth in the economy. So it's not set to a fixed dollar amount forever. And that's why the limit was lower in the past years. And again, it is $24,480 for 2026.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question.
Yes, we do. We have James from New Jersey.
James from New Jersey? Hey, James from New Jersey. What is your question?
How are you? Yeah, my question is, I know you were talking about income earned limits, that interest and maybe deductions from an IRA and maybe rental income would not count towards that. But I was wondering if those income streams, particularly rental income, does that count towards Social Security earnings calculation for the 35 highest years that you have?
Thank you for that question. Stephen?
No, it does not. It really doesn't. And this is a really good time. We'll bring it up and speak about it for a few moments. We'll cover it in a few, but let's just jump right in. It's not going to affect this annual earnings test, earnings limit discussion in any way. We already described what is counted as earnings. What this income may very well do, however, is result in your Social Security income themselves being taxable or being considered taxable income. And we'll cover a little bit of that in the future. But it's not covered, and it's not counted as part of the earnings test rules.
All right. Thank you, Jammie and Stephen, for answering some great questions from our guests. We will get to more of our audience questions later in the program. I want to take a couple minutes and bring in Chad Mullen, Senior Director of Financial Security at AARP, to share how AARP is fighting for you. Welcome, Chad.
Hey, Natalie. Thanks. Happy to be here.
Chad, for more than 70 million Americans, Social Security helps pay for housing, food, prescriptions, and other essentials. With concerns about solvency and benefit cuts continuing to grow, what needs to happen now to secure Social Security's future?
You know, Natalie, Social Security remains the bedrock of retirement security for older Americans, and for future generations paying into the system today. AARP is urging Congress to act soon to strengthen Social Security's future without reducing the payments people have earned. And we're also making clear that cuts or privatizing the program, that is not the answer. Our job is to make sure lawmakers understand what is at stake and act before older Americans are put at risk.
A 2025 AARP poll found that only 36% of U.S. adults felt confident about Social Security's future. At the same time, separate AARP survey data shows overwhelming bipartisan support for the program, with 95% of Republicans, 98% of Democrats, and 93% of independents saying Social Security is vital to Americans' financial security. What is fueling that lack of confidence, and how is AARP working to make sure Social Security is strengthened without cutting the benefits people have earned?
You know, we hear that concern all the time, and I just want to reassure people that we are fighting to make sure that your Social Security payments do not get cut in any way. And if you look at what happened the last time Congress tackled Social Security back in 1983, they did do a couple of things to folks who were receiving Social Security, but most of the cuts that they put into place are being borne by our generation now. Folks who recently retired and started taking Social Security are about to. So our fight is to really make sure and understand that Congress understands how important, how vital Social Security is, and to tell them that we don't want Social Security cut for folks who are retired, who are about to retire, nor do we want it for their kids or their grandkids who are paying into the system now.
Every day, older adults tell us that they're experiencing long wait times, delayed appointments, and difficulty reaching a real person at Social Security. My mom has even said that. Some service delays can cause financial or health care disruptions, and the consequences are very real. What is AARP doing to push for better service and access?
You know, Natalie, the Social Security Administration is a big agency that had just last year alone 722 million contacts. So folks who called maybe multiple times or had to have different appointments, that equated to them helping folks 722 million times last year. And we know people have faced long waits on the phone, trouble getting appointments at local offices, and delays in getting answers. And that's why we have led the fight in Congress to press for more funding for Social Security, more oversight of the agency, and make sure that there's no cuts, that you're able to get through on the phone if you want to, that you're able to get an appointment in a field office if you want to do something online, making sure you can get service there. However you want to get service, we've been fighting to make sure that happens. And so we've seen some progress, but we're continuing the fight, and I just want to thank everyone who's on the call today who's helped raise their voice in that fight over the past couple of years.
People want to know who is responsible when sensitive data is mishandled and what safeguards are truly in place. After recent reporting raised questions, how will Social Security ensure transparency, accountability, and public trust are not optional?
Well, Social Security is entrusted with deeply personal information from hundreds of millions of Americans, and AARP has called for strong safeguards, real accountability, and immediate steps to make sure sensitive information is protected from illegal use. The Social Security Administration has said it has not seen evidence that data were shared, but reviews are still ongoing, and AARP will keep pressing for transparency and for protections that make sure Americans' trust is well placed.
That is good to know. While Social Security is one of the most pressing needs, older Americans are also facing pressure from prescription drug costs, caregiving responsibilities, I'm a witness, fraud, and everyday expenses. Where is AARP seeing the greatest urgency right now, and what wins are making a real difference in people's lives?
You know, AARP is fighting to strengthen Medicare and lower prescription drug costs. Thanks to AARP-backed reforms, seniors are saving thousands of dollars on their medications. We also help secure a bonus tax deduction of up to $6,000 for taxpayers 65 and older. And that's real money that's going back into people's pocket right now when they really need it. We're also urging Congress to support family caregivers, do more to fight fraud, which is frankly reaching crisis levels, and make communities age-friendly. We want every person to be able to age and live the way they want to.
Chad, before we let you go, many people listening are worried, but they may not know whether one voice can make a difference. So what is the most important action someone can take today to stand up for Social Security, and where can they stay engaged?
Your voice matters more than you think it does. It's really important for members to hear from folks back home. So join the fight. Call your members of Congress. Send them an email. Stop by their office. Let them know Social Security matters to you and your family. And to take action, if you press 1 on your telephone keypad right now, press 1, you can join the fight. You can also go to aarp.org/yes. So that's aarp.org/yes, and sign up for our free advocacy newsletter. And one voice might get lost in the noise, but when millions of us speak up, Congress listens.
That's aarp.org/yes. We've added that link to the comment section of Facebook and YouTube. Once again, to get involved, speak up and take action. Press 1 on your telephone keypad right now. Chad, it has been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, let's discuss our next costly decision, which could reduce your spouse's Social Security. Jammie, how does the length of your marriage impact spousal payments?
Yes, so married couples can claim Social Security payments based on a spouse's employment record. To collect spousal payments, you must have been married at least 1 year. But there is a costly catch to be aware of, and that's called the 10-year rule. If your marriage ended in divorce, you can only qualify for spousal payments on your ex's work record if your marriage lasted at least 10 years, no exceptions. So if you were married for less than 10 years, you are not eligible for Social Security payments based on your ex-spouse's work record. And in the U.S., most marriages that end in divorce only last 8 years. So that wouldn't be long enough for either person to claim spousal Social Security payments. And that 10-year rule marriage requirement is especially important when there is a significant difference in earnings between spouses who do divorce. For example, for spouses that take time out of the workforce to raise the children and manage the home, they may only be entitled to a small Social Security payment, or even no payment at all based on their own work record. And to get a larger Social Security payment, someone in that situation could collect Social Security based on the higher earning spouse's work record. But again, if the marriage ends in divorce before hitting the 10-year anniversary, the lower earning spouse or ex-spouse cannot collect Social Security based on the work record of the former spouse. And while we're on the topic of spousal payments, I wanted to mention that the lower earning spouse may be able to collect up to 50% of their partner's Social Security, but that amount will be reduced if the higher earning spouse collects their Social Security early. And also, if you're currently married, you cannot collect spousal payments until your spouse starts collecting their own Social Security. But it's different for divorced spouses. So if you're collecting Social Security on your ex-spouse's record, you do not need to wait for them to collect their own Social Security payment before you can collect your own.
Very helpful to know. Now, I want to talk about a difficult topic, but it's an important one to consider. If you die before your spouse and they collect Social Security on your record, the payments are called survivor payments. Stephen, is there anything you can do to ensure your spouse receives their maximum possible Social Security survivor payment?
Yes, there is something you can do, and it comes back to the issue we were discussing earlier, your claiming age. But first, I'd like to clarify how survivor payments actually work. When you pass away, your spouse can claim a survivor payment based on your work record. If you collect your Social Security early, the amount of your own payment would be reduced, and your spouse's survivor payment would be reduced as well. This is a very important decision to avoid if your spouse will rely on Social Security based on your work record instead of their own. That's common for lower earning spouses or those who have taken an extended time away from the paid workforce for reasons such as family caregiving. So to answer your original question, yes, there is something you could do to maximize your spouse's survivor payment. If you wait as long as possible, up to age 70, to claim your Social Security payment, your surviving spouse will receive a higher income. It's also worth noting that the age of the surviving spouse is a factor here too. It's the surviving spouse, the surviving spouse claims their survivor payment before they reach full retirement age, their payment will be reduced. Also, the amount of the survivor payment would not be additive if your spouse were collecting their own Social Security payment or if they were collecting a spousal payment before your death. They will only receive one payment at a time. The Social Security Administration determines which payment is higher, and that is the one your spouse will collect.
Okay, so your spouse can collect just one payment, and each month you wait to claim your own Social Security up to age 70 not only increases the amount you will collect, but it also increases the survivor payment your spouse would potentially collect. All this important information about marriage and its financial impacts on spousal and survivor payments might be prompting audience questions. Let's have our experts answer your question. Please press *3 on your telephone keypad now to ask your question. If you're joining us in Facebook or YouTube, you can post your question in the comments. All right, Julio, let's take a call.
Our next caller is Barbara from Texas.
Hi, Barbara, out there in Texas. What is your question?
My question is that my husband and I both have our own accounts with Social Security. We have heard that if my husband dies before I do, that I will lose his Social Security. I'll still have mine, but I will lose his.
So are you asking if that is true?
Yes. Is that true?
Good question. Stephen?
It is a very good question. So it works like this. You first have to look at who between you and your spouse are collecting the highest benefit. Let's say, for example, your spouse is collecting a higher benefit payment than you. You've already indicated that you're both drawing under your own individual accounts. If your spouse were to predecease you and your spouse were collecting a higher rate than what you get, then what Social Security would do is when you file the survivor application, they will stop your payment, and then you will switch to the higher rate, which was your spouse's. And the reverse is true, ma'am. If your own benefit is higher than your spouse's and your spouse were to predecease you, you would just stay on your own benefit payment rate.
Thank you for that, Stephen. Julio, do we have another one?
Yep, our next caller is Wendy from Washington.
Hi, Wendy from Washington. You are live. What is your question?
Yeah, I have a question. It's close to what you're talking about, a little bit different. My husband was injured on the job when he was 54. He had to retire and claim Social Security. And so then a couple years later, I was injured and had to no longer work. But I tried to receive Social Security benefits and it was denied. So I just went on Social Security early because I still wasn't able to go back to work. So my husband has Social Security at a higher rate than I have. And because we had 7 kids, I was home a lot. So if he were to pass away, what you're saying, let me make this clear, that you said I would receive his rate instead of mine because his is higher. Is that correct?
Jammie?
And that's a great question, and thanks for such a great explanation for that. So if your husband was to predecease you, similar to what Stephen was saying, then you would go from spousal benefit to the survivor benefit, and that could be more depending on what you're already receiving. So that survivor benefit, without seeing your account, of course, that survivor benefit is up to 100% of what your spouse is receiving. So it could be more, and that usually happens automatically with Social Security when you switch from spousal to survivor benefit. And if it doesn't, definitely reach out to the Social Security Administration. And I hope that answered your question.
All right. Thank you for that. Julio?
Yep. Our next question comes from Facebook. Patricia asks, I have turned 70 and work full time. I haven't applied yet. Will I get back Social Security from the time I turned 70?
Thank you for that, Patricia on Facebook land. Stephen?
Yeah, so here's the thing. We talked about you being able to do what? Start at 62 or start at any month between 62 through 70. And we indicated earlier in the call about what one earns for every year one delays beyond their full retirement age. Your benefit increases about 8% per year for every year beyond your full retirement age up to age 70. After age 70, one no longer gets the delayed retirement credit increase. So you really want to do your homework here regarding when to file. Now, in terms of how far Social Security will go back, keep in mind, Social Security will only go back up to 6 months. So if you were to file between age 70 plus 6 months, Social Security would take you back 6 months and give you the retroactive payment of those 6 months total, and you would lock in at your age 70 rate. And again, let me emphasize, you no longer get the delayed retirement credit boost after age 70. So you really want time to consult with a financial planner, time to consult with tax experts and see how this whole thing is going to fit into your individual retirement portfolio. It's a good question.
Thank you. Julio?
Yep, our next caller is Sarah calling from New York.
Hi, Sarah, out there in New York. You're alive. What is your question?
Yes, my question involves the issue of, you were talking about delayed retirement and things like that. My spouse is continuing to work. He will be 71 at the end of April. And he is getting what we call his wages reconfigured for based on whatever he's working, et cetera. And his rate of retirement benefits is going up, but mine is not.
Jammie?
Great question. So it sounds like your husband's still working. He's earning into his average work history of his 35 years that we went over. So each year, Social Security receives that information from the IRS from what your husband has been doing for work, and they do throw that into the recalculation for what he's receiving as his payment. Now, as far as his going up versus yours not going up, without seeing, of course, how much you both are making and your record and things of that nature, it could be coming down to the actual dollar amount and what the calculation is for his work record versus yours. Each work record, I want to just highlight, is specific to that individual. So what his work record for Social Security and yours could be completely different, and that could be what's adding into his calculation. And I hope that answers your question.
All right, I think we have time for one more.
Yes, we do. One more question from Facebook. Cindy asks, I claimed survivor benefits while our children were still young. Am I still eligible for survival benefits at retirement age?
Thank you for that question. Stephen?
This is one of those, wait a minute moments. This is really a hallmark part of what survivor benefits are all about, written into the Social Security laws. This is an example where you had a wage earner pass away when they were young. And what happens with the survivor yields when a wage earner passes away, if there are young children, they get to collect as surviving auxiliaries until they graduate from high school, age 19 or high school graduation. It's the true sense of what survivor insurance is all about, as written into the law. So just to highlight that particular fact. Now, what happens once the youngest child graduates from high school, or age 19, whichever comes first, unless one of the children are disabled, the mother will no longer collect as a surviving spouse. So what happens now is now you're under the basic survivor rules, right, that people fall into later in life. One, as a surviving spouse, can collect survivor benefits as early as age 60, as early as age 50 if they are disabled. You can draw that survivor benefit yourself. If you do decide to go to work, you are subjected to the annual earnings test rules that we discussed earlier. But keep in mind, you have a lot of options as a surviving spouse. You could also draw the surviving spouse, and if you were a worker, you could delay your own until age 70 if you were to choose so. It's a great question.
Yes, we have covered a lot of great questions, and I want to take a few minutes to cover something that can cost people dearly: Social Security imposter scams. These scams are incredibly common and they can happen to anyone. Stephen, when someone gets a call or text or email or even a letter that claims to be from Social Security, what are the biggest red flags that it's actually a scam?
Well, one of the biggest red flags is urgency and fear. Scammers often claim your Social Security number has been suspended, or that you qualify for a payment increase only if you take action, such as providing your Social Security number or paying a fee, or that there's a problem with your Social Security payment that has to be fixed immediately. They may threaten delayed or loss of Social Security payments, arrest, or legal action unless you do what they say right now. Another huge red flag is when they demand money and tell you how to pay. Imposters may insist you pay with gift cards, a wire transfer, cryptocurrency, or through a payment app. That's not how the Social Security Administration operates. SSA urges the public to ignore unexpected messages and unsolicited offers.
People often ask, Jammie, how do I know if it's really Social Security? What will and won't the real Social Security Administration do?
That's a great question. A key point is that scammers want you to react fast, but you don't have to, and you shouldn't. The Social Security Administration almost never contacts people out of the blue, and they generally only contact people by mail. The SSA isn't going to threaten you, tell you that your Social Security number is suspended, or demand immediate payment. Now, if someone contacts you claiming to be SSA and asks for personal information like your Social Security number, your bank account details, or even your other sensitive data, that's a major warning sign. And if they send a link or pressure you to click it right away, pause, don't click, don't share, and don't send money.
Okay, let's make this practical. If someone's on the phone saying, "This is Social Security," what should a listener do in that moment? Stephen?
Well, first, consider if you recently called Social Security and asked for a call back. If not, hang up and don't respond if it's a voicemail, text, or email. Don't engage, and don't call back a number that they give you. If you're concerned that there might be a real issue, you can verify it by contacting Social Security through official channels, like the phone number on the agency's official website, rather than anything provided by the caller. The phone number for SSA is 800-772-1213. 800-772-1213, and their official website is ssa.gov. Again, that is ssa.gov.
Now, if someone thinks they've been targeted or they've already shared information or even sent money, what should they do next? Jammie?
Yeah, so two things. Report it and protect yourself quickly. You can report Social Security imposter scams to the Social Security Administration's Office of the Inspector General by calling their fraud hotline at 1-800-269-0271. And again, that is 800-269-0271. And if you give out financial information or sent a payment, contact your bank or card issuer immediately to try to stop the transaction and secure the account. AARP offers support and guidance through the AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline. So specialists are trained to listen, share information on what to do next, and how to avoid future scams. They also offer online group support sessions. To confidently speak with someone at AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline, call 877-908-3360. And again, that is 877-908-3360.
I want to leave everyone with a simple checklist. If the message creates panic, demands secrecy or payment, especially by gift card, wire transfer, cryptocurrency, or a payment app, assume it's a scam. Hang up. Don't click, don't share information, and report it. Thank you, Stephen and Jammie. Okay, let's use our remaining time to take some audience questions. Please press *3 on your telephone keypad now to ask your question. If you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, you can post your question in the comments. Okay, Julio, let's take a call.
Our next question comes from Joan from California, and she asked, would a Rios Social Security employee ever ask me for my Social Security number over the phone?
Jammie?
Yeah, so first short answer, no. A real Social Security employee should not ask you for your full Social Security number over the phone. Now, what you should do, again, is you stop, don't give your information, and if you feel uncomfortable, hang up the phone and call back the official Social Security number, or again, it is important to have that My Social Security account so you can really see what's going on with your Social Security work record.
All right, thank you for that. Do we have another one?
Yes, our next question comes from Carla, and she asked, is it ever legitimate for Social Security to ask for bank information or payment?
That's a good question, too. Stephen?
Yeah, really, really, really important. And Social Security has put in some safeguards about this very thing, that under some circumstances, if you want to change your direct deposit and you have not established a My Social Security account, you may very well be called upon to physically go into an office with identity to change such bank information or bank data. So the short answer to the question is it's a no. That they wouldn't ask for such information. Now, if you're filing for retirement benefits and you go through with Social Security and you've decided to make an appointment to either do this thing in person at your local office or by telephone, there's a checklist of things you have to have ready within the application process. By this time, you've established who you're speaking to and you're confident of what you're giving out is accurate information. So under that platform, you may very well be requested to provide direct deposit information, and you can feel confident with that because you're going through the overall process yourself. But in general terms, these are red flags. Like Jammie had pointed out, these are wait a minute moments. Consider who the caller is. Is it a official number? And you can always call back to Social Security after you hang up to be certain with 100% certainty that you're speaking to a legit person.
All right, thank you for that. Do we have another one?
Yes, Deborah asked, what if the caller gives me a real employee's name or sends a badge or ID? Does that mean it's legitimate?
Stephen?
If an employer, it's, again, in terms of providing information in their real name, let's go back to one of the first responses given. Did you just recently conduct business with Social Security? Were you given a person's name and direct telephone line? Have you recently filed for benefits, disability or survivor or retirement benefits? Is there consistency in what the person is providing to you in terms of who their name is and what kind of information they're providing for you? Again, if there's any doubt at all, any doubt at any level, you can hang up and call back the 800 number and then work your way through channels to authenticate who this person is to make sure they are who they are.
All right.
Our next question is Deborah from Facebook. She asked, was on disability and then was put on retirement pay. If I have another disability, do I have to file for disability again?
Good question.
Yeah,
Jammie?
That is a great question. So first, no, you do not have to file for disability again. So when someone receives Social Security Disability Insurance or SSDI, Social Security automatically converts that individual to their Social Security retirement payments at that full retirement age. And again, that's somewhere usually between 66 or 67. And this is an administrative change by Social Security, so it's done automatically, so you do not have to reapply, and Social Security doesn't have to reevaluate your disability. So your payment stays usually the same. That's usually like the follow-up question, what about my payment? Your Medicare continues without interruption, and your MS diagnosis does not require reproving disability. And I hope that answers your question.
Good, yeah.
We have one more caller on the line.
All right.
Yep, Charlotte from New Jersey.
Hi.
Hello?
Yes. What is your call? What is your question? How you doing?
I didn't know he would get to me.
Oh, yes.
My ex and I were married for 19 years. Okay, I was 10 years older than him. I started working in 64 and basically steadily worked until like when I was pregnant, you know, but I didn't take off for long. And I worked for the state, so I had a good income. He came here in 1990, had a very low-paying job, then he started working UPS. We were married from 88 to 2007. He remarried, I'm quite sure, within 3 or 4 years. I never remarried. Is he eligible? He retired, I think, in 2023. Was he entitled to any of my Social Security?
That is a great question. Thank you so much. Stephen, do you have a response for him?
Yeah, it is a good question regarding divorced spouses benefits. The short answer is possibly. It all depends how old he was when he remarried. It all depends how old he was when he remarried. In general terms, remarriage terminates the possibility of being eligible for divorced spouses payments. So again, in general terms, if you remarry, you have eliminated the possibility of you drawing from your first spouse. However, if the marriage occurred, in general terms, if the marriage occurred after age 60, it's possible that if you were to predecease your spouse, they could potentially be eligible for benefits under your account number. It would behoove anybody in this situation, really, to always contact the agency and be screened for eligibility. Always contact the agency at 800-772-1213 and be screened for eligibility. I hope that helps.
Listeners, thank you so much for joining us for this important discussion. Jammie and Stephen, thank you for sharing such great information and answering questions for our listeners. We hope you learned something new today. Thank you and have a wonderful day. This concludes our call.